Alright guys, this is the answer to chapter 2, which is the first vocabulary document worksheet I gave you. Word classes, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Alright, so let's go through the answers. Alright, this chapter will address nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. And if you're not sure what they are, let me just give you a very quick rundown on what nouns are. Nouns are basically it could be a thing, it could be a person, it could be a place, it could also be an emotion like happiness. Okay, don't forget that happy is an adjective. All right, but there's also happiness, which is a noun. Same for sad, and sadness, that's a noun. So remember when we went through the introduction into the video that introduced all these different chapters, I mentioned that one word could have it's possible that a word, like say, this is a word that we're going to talk about later, the answers. Studies both a verb and a noun. So some words may be both, have more than one word class. All right. Some words have 3 word classes, or even there's at least one word. I think we're going to go through in this chapter that has 4 word classes. That means that same word, without changing it, without adding whatever, it could be a noun, verb, adjective, or adverb, right? But here study is both a verb and a noun. And then there are some words where, for example, let me think of a word. Just like that, for example, sad is an adjective, whereas the noun version it changes slightly. Okay, you have to put an NESS. Same for this happiness. Happy is an adjective, happiness. So these are words within the same word family. Okay, but sometimes they're actually the same, right? You don't have to change anything. So a noun, thing, place, person could be some kind of emotion, or verb is an action. And as we went through in the tenses, when I went through the tenses, introduced the tenses, I mentioned that there are some verbs which are represent an action. There are some verbs which represent a state. An action could be, like, for example, run. All right, it's a verb. It's more of an action. You can probably see it. Okay, see the action. But then perhaps a verb like believe, it's also a verb, but you can't see believe, it's a state. Okay, so these are verbs. And adjectives describe nouns. Okay, very important. Adjectives describe nouns. And finally, adverbs. The thing about adverbs is that a lot of words are defined as an adverb. Okay, it's kind of like one of these categories that a lot of things are dumped into. All right, but for now, let's talk about an adverb describing a verb. You can say describing or modifying. Describes or modifies a verb. For example, you can say I play tennis. This is your verb in the present simple tense, which is, as if you've gone through the videos on tenses, the present simple tense. If you use the present simple tense, it means that this thing regularly happens. It's a habit. Okay. You can also say I play tennis well. All right. Now this is a adverb describing. What does it describe, or what does it modify? It tells you how you do the action. Okay. So this adverb describes this verb. Right. So one of the definitions of adverbs is to describe or to modify a verb. The other one is, so an adverb will describe an adjective. Okay, so it does describe it. It describes a verb. It describes an adjective, like this is important. This is an adjective. But you could also say something like this is especially important. This is an adverb, right? This is describing how important it is, right? So this is an adjective. Adverb describes an adjective, and adverb describes a verb, and an adverb also describes another adverb, right? Okay, so that's just basically an introduction. You should know this, and as I mentioned before, if you don't, Google it in your native language if it helps you to understand it a bit better, right? But let's just really get into the answers for this. Okay, so let's look at study. This is tricky, and normally I get my students to do this, and a lot of students, if they're not careful, they will tell me study is a verb. All right, study is a verb. Now, study can be a verb, as I mentioned here. Study could be a verb, but study can also be a noun. So the question is this: what is study in this context, right? If you understand that most of the time when you write a sentence, a clause, okay, most of the time you are going to have your subject first, which is basically going to be a noun, all right? And then you have your verb, which normally has a tense or as a modal verb. All right, that's normally the way we speak in English, unless we do a question form. When you ask a question, then your verb comes first. But if not, the way we speak is you normally have your subject first, right? And so if this is in front, this is like your subject, then there's no way it can be a verb. All right, so this study is not the action of studying. Study is a noun because it's a subject. Study after study, that's the subject. Okay, this is a noun phrase, and a noun phrase meaning that this whole phrase, more than one word, functions as a noun. So when I say a subject is a noun, you could say, for example, I am happy. Now that's your subject, I, which is a noun. You could also say well, let's look, the dog is happy. Okay, that will be the subject, the dog. But you could say the dog, and you could use a relative clause, the dog that is that lives at the end of the street is happy. So this whole thing is still, this is the subject. Okay, this whole thing is a subject, the dog that lives, because this is a subject, then this is the verb, right? So that whole study of the study is the subject, and it has to be a noun because it's you know, in the beginning of a sentence before the verb, it's most likely going to be a noun. And so this study is a noun. It doesn't mean the action of studying. It means the study. All right, and I'm going to go through. I'm going to go to the dictionary so you can clearly see what study as a noun means. So study as a noun, okay, the process could be the process of learning, but here we are talking about study after study. It's like a research thing, okay, a research project, a study of this thing, a study of whatever, okay. Scientists and people who are doing research normally conduct studies, right? Okay, so that study is what it means, all right? Study after study. Then this is the verb ranks. So rank, again, rank could be, so here we're going to, study here is a noun. Rank is a verb, okay? Rank could also be a noun, but here it's used as a verb, right? So you see, the whole purpose of this exercise is to make you aware and understand that different words may have different word classes, but you have to really understand the structure of an English sentence to understand whether this is a noun or this is a verb. You just have to understand the structure, because the subject, which is always a noun, will come first, and then you have your verb. So study after study is the subject, ranks, present simple tense, okay? School children in Japan. So let me do this. All right, so you have study, let's put the noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. Okay, so study comes under noun. It's a noun. Verb, rank. Other, developed. Now, what is developed? Developed could be a it could be a verb, develop, in a past simple tense, but here is not being used as a verb. It's being used as an adjective. All right, to describe. Okay, let's just get this a bit, just want to make this clear. You can say, he developed this course. If you use develop like this is your subject, which is a noun, and this is your verb, which has is in a past simple tense, this course. He made it, he created it. All right? So, but here, this develop is not being used as a verb. It's the same thing as does it say developed nations? Yeah, developed countries. Okay, developing. I mean, this is an adjective describing the countries, right? So develop is an adjective. Particularly, now one clue is every time you have a ly, most of the time it's going to be an adverb, right? And normally, if you take away the ly, it becomes an adjective. So particularly is an adverb. Particular is an adjective. On standardized tests. Now, on, it's a preposition, and after a preposition, and I probably mentioned this many times, after a preposition in this video series for vocabulary, and also basically in this video series for vocabulary, all right, I'm going to mention it a lot of times in my classes. Also, after a preposition, you normally have a noun or a verb, ing. All right, a verb in an ing form. So on standardized test, this is the noun here, right? The definition of a preposition is that it links one part of the sentence to a noun, right? And why is it verb ing? Because the verb in the ing form functions like a noun, okay, grammatically, right? So test here, again, test could be a verb. Test is both a verb and a noun. So if you want to use test as a verb, he tested me. This is a verb in the past simple tense. But I sat for the test. This is a noun. All right? Subject, verb, the tense, object. Subject, verb in the past simple tense. This is your preposition, and this is your noun again. Right? So, where were we? Test. Okay? Test here is a noun. Of maths is also a noun. Mathematics. Right? American. Now, you could, what is American here? All right? If you use the word Singaporean, okay, what does Singaporean mean? It could be two word classes. It could be a noun. It could be an adjective. Let me show you how it's used as a noun. I say, for example, I am a Singaporean. If you say that, that is a noun. A citizen of Singapore, right? If you say I like Singaporean food, okay, the food is a noun. Here is being used as an adjective to describe the kind of food, right? So this American here you're not talking about the citizen of America, a citizen of America. You're talking about describing the high school students. They are from America, all right? So here American would be an adjective describing the students. Meanwhile, have slipped. This whole thing is your subject, Now, as I go through all this, I want you to be clear of your sentence structure, and the subject comes first, unless of course it's a question. Okay, I mean, when you go to the tenses and the present simple, whatever tenses I teach you in the videos, you will know that every time we have a question, remember I talked about positive, negative, and question. Every time we have a question, you're going to put the verb in front. For example, I like football. Okay, if you want to ask someone, do you like football? So here, this is in the present simple tense. You're using actually the auxiliary, helping verb. Okay, so you start with a verb. All right. So the only time you really start with a verb in front is if it's a question. If not, every time if you read newspapers, if you create a sentence yourself speaking, you know that this subject always comes in front. Okay, so subject, verb. The verb normally has a tense, or it could be a modal verb. Right? So just be aware of the structure, because later when we go to the next activity in this worksheet, you will realize how important it is to understand the structure of an English sentence. Because when you understand the structure of an English sentence, a lot of times, and I'll show you later for this part, you don't really need to know and understand this whole sentence, but through understanding the structure, you can pretty much know what kind of word comes here. Okay, later I'll show you. So anyway, this is your subject, this is your verb in tense. Have slipped is actually present perfect simple tense. All right, that's the fifth tense you're gonna learn out of the 6 in my videos. Okay, so have slipped, that of course will be a verb. All right, and the verb basically is slip. Okay, so have slipped is the have, which functions as an auxiliary verb, plus the past participle slip, which is slipped. Advanced, again the same thing, just like American. You are describing maths, advanced maths, basic, these basic maths. These are all adjectives. However, classes, that's your subject. Remember I said every time you start with a subject, right? In a normal sentence, if you're not asking a question, or if you're not forming what you call an imperative, which is a command, okay, so a subject would come first. But before a subject, there could also be additional, like say a sentence, I am happy. Okay, that's your subject. It's your verb. This is an adjective, right? But before this could come, your prepositional phrase, or even an adverb. For example, you can say I'm happy. That's fine. That's a legitimate, grammatically correct sentence. You can have a prepositional phrase, like in Singapore, I am happy. So a prepositional phrase is basically a preposition plus a noun here. So preposition here. In Singapore, I'm happy. So you don't start with your subject first. You can kind of like add these. A prepositional phrase here, it's an optional thing. All right, and you could also add, or you could say, you could add an adverb. Again, this is optional. So these are optional. This is an optional component of a sentence. Okay, you don't have to put it there, but you could put it before the subject. Okay, or you could also put an adverb, like for example, yesterday. If you put yesterday, then you're not going to say I am, because I am is in the present simple tense. The be verb in the present simple tense, you would say yesterday I was. Okay, this is optional. Again, you can just take this away, and it's fine saying I was happy or I am happy. All right. So that this however here is an adverb. Okay, that's why I'm telling you this. This however, then it comes back to the class. Comes back to the subject. Classes in Asia, the subject. Verb, be verb in present simple tense, are large. Okay, so classes would be, all right. Oops. Classes. This is a noun. Large. Your be verb is are, and after where does an adjective normally? Where's the position of an adjective? Normally, the position of an adjective is after a be verb, just like, you see this is a be verb. Could be another linking verb, like it doesn't have to be a be, but the most common verb that comes before an adjective is a be verb. Okay, that's why it comes adjective. The position could be after a be, or what you call a linking verb. Okay, there are other linking verbs. For example, feel, seem. These are all linking verbs. Or the second position would be before a noun. Okay, like this is a red pen. Red is an adjective, right? And then pen is, of course, the noun. Okay, so for an adjective, it could come after a be verb or before. Let's say after a be verb could be like, he is happy. Okay, that is your adjective here, and that is your be verb here. Oops. All right, and this is of course your subject. He is of course your subject, right? So that's why large after the be verb, that's an adjective, right? After a be verb could be a noun also. Doesn't have to be an adjective, right? Okay, in contrast, in is a preposition. After a preposition, what comes after a preposition? A noun, as I mentioned. Okay, so contrast is a noun anyway. The phrase comes together in contrast. Okay, it's a prepositional phrase in contrast. Elementary school class sizes. Okay, so this is your prepositional phrase, then this is your subject. This whole thing from elementary school class sizes in the United States, that is your subject, a long subject. That's why it's a noun phrase, a long noun phrase. Just like what I mentioned here, the dog that lives at the end of the street. Right, it's long, but that's all. The whole thing's a subject, right? So the same way, elementary school class sizes in the United States, that's the subject. Then average, that's your verb. Okay, so average could be an adjective. Average could be a verb. Okay, if you go to Macmillan, you can see again there. As you can see here again, what are they testing? See, average could be a noun. Average could be an adjective. Average could be a verb. Okay, 3 word classes, and the reason why the noun comes out first is because it is the most common use of the word average. It's normally used as a noun. Okay, so 3 word classes here. Now, as you can see, they are trying to see if you're aware that these words could be used in different word classes. If you understand the structure of a sentence, many students, please go through these videos over and over again, at least twice, because you will learn something. You will learn many things. And one thing I'm trying to convey to you here, right, is the understanding the sentence structure. Once you understand the sentence structure, like for example, I said a subject always comes first in the beginning of a sentence, in the beginning of a clause, unless it's like a question or unless it's like a command. All right, there'll always be the subject here, but it's also optional to put a prepositional phrase here or an adverb. Okay, so you have your prepositional phrase here, then this is your subject. Then you must understand a subject doesn't just need to be one word. It could be a phrase that is a subject, that functions as a subject. All right, so this whole thing is a subject. Then you will start to understand, oh, average is a verb. All right, and this average here is a verb. Okay, it's not being used as a noun. It's not being used as a this has to be the verb, okay, because every clause, every sentence has to have a verb, right? That that takes a tense or is a modal verb. And if this is not a verb, where's the verb? There's no verb in tense or modal, right? Or a verb which is a modal verb, right? So this is the verb average, right? Average about 24. Okay, so you see, this is basically all the word classes. I'm sure most of you have learned something, right? Again, if your English is very good, you don't really need to know all this. It just comes automatically. For example, I don't need to study all this because it's automatic for me, since from the time I was a baby, all I really spoke was English. But I need to understand this to teach, and I need to understand this to help students understand English. And you need, if the way you are speaking and writing is, it's good enough to communicate, but not good enough to get your 7 for in terms of grammar, because you make a lot of mistakes. Remember, you can communicate well and people can understand you, but you will still you're still making a lot of mistakes and you won't get your 7, okay? Because IELTS requires that you do well in your grammar too, okay? So you can communicate well with people will understand you, but still your grammar is not so good. If that's the case, the only way you can really improve is to understand logically, understand through all this, theory and all this, all these terms, what I've been teaching you, all the different terms, how understanding the English structure. You need to understand this in order to make corrections for yourself. Okay, so it's a bit of a difficult process, but if you really understand the English sentence, the English structure, you will be able to correct yourself. And that is the goal of my teaching, to create independent learners, right? What I'm teaching you now, actually, you don't really learn a lot in many language schools. I can guarantee you that, because but I've taught a lot of one-to-one, and I've come to a stage whereby I teach my students all this because they really learn a lot from this. It's a bit difficult, but it's important to learn and understand the reasons why, this is like that, what is the mistake, understand the sentence structure that you have to have your subject first and all that, all right? It will help you, okay? All right, let's continue on. And that, just going through all this and teaching you a bit about the different word class and the sentence structure, that's almost 30 minutes, all right? That's a lot of time, but a lot of good information there. Okay, so this task 2 is words belonging to one word class, one class only. Remember, I said many words could have more than one. Like study is both a verb and a noun. Test is both a verb and a noun. Just now we saw average is both a verb, a noun, and an adjective. Okay, so these words only belong to one word class. All right, let me just get rid of that. And so let's go through them entire. Okay, if you go to the dictionary, of course you will be able to find out quickly, but anyway, entire is an adjective. How do you use it? Like the entire world. Okay, so it's describing world. Basically, you straight away know, because of the ly, that's most likely going to be an adverb. Avoid is a verb. Existence, you will learn, I think, the next chapter that ence normally is a noun if it ends with ence. Discover is a verb. Regular is an adjective. Relatively is an adverb. Provide is a verb. Prevent is a verb. Highly, ly, is a adverb. Security is a noun. Okay, normally the ity probably going to be a noun. Okay, now, so then we get to this pretty tricky activity. Remember, I mentioned to you the first thing you need to do is to get this correct. Then you're only going to use this in this part here, right? So the first part of this is you have an underline here, a blank line here, and of course a word needs to be placed in there, but you don't really care about what word is placed there right now. You don't really need to know. The question is basically asking you what kind of word class this missing word is, right? And you don't need to understand what word fits there in order to know the word class, because again, if you understand your English structure, you would know, right? You would know that. Okay, so researchers, let me just go through number 1. Researchers, have, straight away you know, have could be a present simple tense, the verb have, or have could be part of the present perfect simple. That's the 5th tense I'm going to teach you, which is have, has, the auxiliary verb have, has. Okay, I'm not going to mention so much here, but the present perfect simple tense is have, has, which are auxiliary verbs. Remember, auxiliary verbs are helping verbs. Okay, they're just there. They don't give meaning. They just need to be there. Nobody knows why. It's just the way it is in English. Okay, plus your verb in your past participle form, which is the third column. So that's why it's verb. Anyway, here should be the verb in the past participle form. Okay, and then it comes with this that pattern. You're gonna learn this in this is chapter 2, but you're gonna learn it in chapter 5. Okay. Under word patterns. Okay, then that always comes with another clause. Okay, so anyway, let's go to number 2. E-commerce, that's your subject. Is your verb, present simple tense. Now after is an article, you have a noun, right? For example, you can say I have a car, so that's your noun. You can also say I have a green car. That's your noun, the car, but that is your adjective. All right. So what if you want to say something like I have maybe an extremely green, a very green car. Okay, so basically this is an adverb. Not being sure if you can say extremely green car, but the point is that it's very green. Okay, if you want to express it that way, maybe not the best way to express it, but this is describing this, which is describing this. There will be after the, and this becomes and because of the e sound here, the vowel sound here. So after an article, you have to have a noun, but it doesn't mean it's directly after. It could be 2 words after, it could be 3 words after, right? So this is, where's your noun? Phenomenon. Then this recent is an adjective. Recent phenomenon. Recent thing that's happened, all right? Event, okay? So this is describing, recent is an adjective describing phenomenon. So if there's an additional word here, what's it going to be? It is going to be an adverb describing an adjective, just like here, an adverb describing an adjective, right? Which then describes a noun. Okay, so this would be number 2 here would be okay, an adverb. Okay, number 3, a virus could potentially destroy the. So this another article. A virus is your subject, could is your modal verb, and you will learn that after a modal verb, you will always have a modal verb is an auxiliary verb. It's called a modal auxiliary verb. Can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should. That's a modal auxiliary verb. After a modal auxiliary verb, and I teach this in writing class too, you will always have another verb because it's as a helping verb. Because it's an auxiliary verb, it will not be there alone. It helps another verb. Okay, the meaning comes from the main verb, not the auxiliary verb, but you just need auxiliary verb. It modifies, this modal auxiliary verb modifies the meaning a bit. All right, but you need another verb, and the other verb is here, destroy. And this is an ly verb, adverb, ly word, which is an adverb. So remember what an adverb does? It describes or modifies a verb. So a virus could destroy, and their modified potentially is possible. And then, so this is your subject, this is your verb, and then this is your object. Destroy what? Right? So this is what it could destroy. And you have an article, and the is an article, so you will have a noun. Where's the noun? This is a noun. And so what this is probably going to be is just like recent. Recent describes a noun. Recent is an adjective, so this is an adjective. Okay, whatever that word is. Again, you don't need to know the word. You just need to understand the sentence structure. Online, all right? Now let's go to this word online. Put it in Macmillan and you see something. Okay, online is not a noun. Okay, when you say, oh, he's online now, it's basically an adjective. He is verb, right? So this online is an adjective. At least online here is used as an adjective. So remember, an adjective comes before either an adjective comes after a be verb or before a noun. So this is online noun. All right. 5. We've seen an enormous. We have seen your present. We have seen, just like have plus verb in past participle. This again is the present perfect simple tense. So you realize how a lot of sentences that you read, you have to understand the tenses. Okay, you have, because you see tenses everywhere. As I mentioned, after normally you have your subject, right? Then you have your verb, and that verb will either be a tense or modal verb. Okay, so almost every if you go to the newspaper, you read a book, every sentence, most likely the second part after your subject will be a verb, and it's either in it has a tense or it's a modal. Okay, let me just go through very quickly get an article online right now so that you can basically see what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, this person just came to my mind, Robin Williams, the comedian who passed away in 2014. Anyway, I just want to just look at the paragraph. Okay, so let's just analyze what we see here. Okay, so in 1973, what is this? This is a prepositional phrase. Remember I told you before, you could have a prepositional phrase, or you could have a an adverb before your subject. So I mentioned it here. Okay, so you have your subject plus verb, your clause, and you could have a you could say yesterday, which is an adverb, or prepositional phrase. I put in Singapore. Okay, in Singapore, that's your prepositional phrase. That's your adverb. Okay, these are optional. So as you see here, here's your prepositional phrase. Then you have your subject. Guess what comes after that? Your verb in past simple tense. Okay, see, you have a verb. You need to know the tenses. If you don't understand your tenses, you use the wrong tenses, almost every sentence could be wrong. Now you don't have any prepositional phrase here. Subject, be verb in a past simple tense. Okay, William Hurt and Mandy, that's your subject. Be verb in a past simple tense. Okay, according. Now let's look at this word according. Okay. Okay, what is according? Okay, accord here is this is a bit of a okay, I won't really mention so much about what this is, okay, because this is a bit more of an advanced grammar point. Okay, but anyway, you have whatever that is there, but then this is your subject. Okay, this functions something like you wouldn't say it's a I wouldn't want to mention what it is because it's a bit too advanced and you don't really need to know. Okay, so let's go subject, verb, tense. See, the first verb in a clause always has to be in a tense. Okay, except for this little advanced thingy which I'm not going to mention about. Okay, he, subject, past simple tense. He, past simple tense. Past simple tense, you see all this? Past simple tense, subject, past simple tense. After this is actually a conjunction. Conjunction links two clauses together. Then your clause, subject, past simple tense, subject, past simple tense. Okay, so anytime, let's see whether you have a could. Okay, you see all these are verbs. This is a modal verb, right? How about can? Okay. Must. Oh, well, it wouldn't be must because if in the past, let's say should. Okay, I'm trying to show you, and I can't really find it here. I'm trying to show you a sentence that will, rather than a verb in tense, is actually a modal verb. Okay, because remember I said there are two. After a subject, you either have a verb in a tense, or a modal verb. Okay, in fact, all these are. Okay, let's have a look at this. Skinner, subject, had past simple tense, verb in the past simple tense, no idea what to make as this is your what? This is your as is here because a conjunction to link two clauses. So you have another clause. He, subject, Williams, could. You see that's your modal. So you didn't here have a verb which takes a tense. You have a modal verb here. Okay, he could, and then the modal verb comes with another verb, and then you could have a adverb here. He could perform. He could instantly. Instantly here is an adverb describing the verb perform. Okay. All right. Let's just go back. So the importance of tenses, because you see, after your subject, you have your verb in tense, or a modal could, right? Now, where are we up to now? 5, we've seen, and we have seen your present perfect simple tense, seen something, and you see, article, you always have a noun after that. It could be directly after, it could be 2 words after. Enormous is an adjective. This is where your noun is, okay? Because this is not a noun. This is enormous, whatever, noun, right? The installation of anti-spam software. Okay, this whole thing is your subject. The installation of anti-spam software can, you see your modal verb, can always comes with another verb. Okay, so this should be another verb in base form, all right? Okay, because can, could, all these modal verbs are just auxiliary verbs. You need a main verb to give the main meaning. The new network system is, this is your new network system is your subject. Be verb is, okay, this is a tricky thing. Sound. Let's have a look at sound. Because you will see something here. I mentioned to you before that there are words which could have 4 word classes. So sound, everybody knows the first thing they think of sound when you mention sound. What kind of word class is it? Oh, it is talking about the noise, the sound, right? And that's noun. That's a noun. Okay. I heard a loud sound. All right. But sounds also a verb. Sounds also an adjective, and sounds also an adverb. All right. And there are different meanings to all this, and probably the meaning that's being used here is something that most students do not know, right? The new network system, so that's your subject, is, now what comes after a be verb? Normally an adjective, or now you can't have an adverb coming after the be verb. That normally doesn't work, okay? So normally adjective or noun. Now, does it make sense to say this, you can't use this as a noun? Because then, if this is a noun, then we probably have an adjective noun. And what does it mean by the new network is sound, is noise? It doesn't make sense, right? So actually, this word sound here is an adjective. What this word sound here means is works well, it's reliable, it's good. Okay, everything is, there are no problems. Okay, so this is an adjective. And if this is an adjective, this be verb, adjective, what is this? This is a, again, you just now I mentioned that you could, after an article you could have a noun, right? But you could have an adjective before the noun, you could have adverb before the noun. Same for, he is happy. This is your adjective. This is your be verb. But you could also put something extremely, this is your adverb. It is describing happy. So he is extremely happy, or the network system is adverb. Extremely is an adverb. Happy, okay. Is comes with happy, but there could be something before. The network system is adverb. This is an adverb. And then sound. Sound is your adjective. There are simple measures that can be taken to, this is your taken to do something. This is a verb, right? This is what you call a verb 2 plus base verb pattern, right? Which we will go through in chapter 5. This is chapter 2 here. So 3 more chapters, we'll go through patterns. And in my writing class too, I also go through patterns. The what of organized. Now, the after the article the, it's going to be a noun. Right? There's nothing that adjective or adverb before that, because the something is a noun. 10. Criminals have developed something, right? This is your criminals is your subject, have developed is your verb, present perfect simple tense again. Something is a noun. Okay, object's always a noun, but where is your noun? Is this a noun? No, it can't be noun. Then what is sophisticated is an adjective. Techniques is a noun. So actually this is just like I kicked the ball. Okay, so you have subject, verb, your past simple tense, and this is your object, which is a noun. Also, subject and objects are always nouns, right? But you could have I kicked the big ball. That's your adjective. Okay, and it could be I kicked a very big ball. So even though you have your object, which is your noun here, you could have an adjective and an adverb. Adjective describes the ball, the noun. Adverb describes the adjective. So this is exactly the same thing, where criminals have developed. This is the noun, this is an adjective, this is the adverb. So whatever this this word is, which we don't know right now, it's describing the sophisticated, which is describing the techniques, which is a noun. Okay, most experts recommend, now security checks here functions like a noun. Okay, so you have an adjective to describe. Okay, adjective. And all universities should modal verb always, there will always be another verb. Okay, subject, modal verb always comes with another verb. Okay, so going back to, you have all this here. This is the correct answer. So if you know that this is a verb, then what are the verbs here? Avoid, provide, prevent. Okay, so let's have a look. Researchers have prevent, avoid. What else is there? You also have growth here, which is a noun. So you have your verbs: avoid, discover, provide, prevent. Okay, researchers have discovered. Okay, so you put it in the, as I mentioned here, you may have to change the endings. Okay, for the verb. Okay, so discovered, this is your present perfect simple tense. E-commerce is a you know that this is, sorry, is that put, sorry, one should be here, sorry. Verb, which is discovered. Okay, 2, adverb. Okay, so what describes the recent? How many adverbs do you have here? 3. Basically, relatively, highly. Now students will probably choose one of them, and they'll probably choose the wrong one, because if you say, oh, e-commerce is a basically recent phenomenon, e-commerce is a relatively recent phenomenon, e-commerce is a highly recent phenomenon. If I were to ask most students what is the correct answer, which one fits in, most students are going to probably say, probably all of them are okay. They don't really know which one. Okay, and if you were to use all 3 of them, people understand you. Okay, now this is but you need to know the correct one, because there's only one correct one, and this relates to collocations. All right, which is the third, in the 4th chapter, which is the third. Now this is actually chapter 2 here. All right, this is actually chapter 2 here, and in the 4th chapter, which so is the 3rd document I'm going to give you, we're going to talk about collocations, right? And collocations it's basically about combining the words, especially, for example, if you have an adjective and a noun, you need to know what kind of adjective goes with the noun. or if you have an adverb describing an adjective, which adverb is good, right? I'll get more into that, in that video. But the thing is that there is you can't just say all three of them fit. No, only one of them fit, and the answer here is relatively recent. Because you say relatively recent, you don't say basically recent, because basically and recent are not collocations. They do not combine together naturally. It doesn't sound natural. Okay, and there's a way to find out how to find what words come together naturally, and I'll talk about that in that chapter. All right, so relatively recent. The next one for 3 is going to be an adjective. Entire database. 4, online. What is becoming an increasing problem? Online security. That's a noun. We've seen an enormous. What in the number of businesses? We've seen an enormous growth. Okay. The installation of anti-spam software. Can, modal verb plus another verb. Can what? Unwanted emails reaching your can. Prevent. Now some students may use avoid. That's not the way you use avoid. Okay. We'll get to that later. You don't avoid unwanted mails reaching. Okay. Because of the word pattern. The word pattern is something I get to in the 5th chapter, right? 7, the neural network system is what the sound is an adjective is. So this is another of the adverb. Basically, sound. 8, there are simple measures that can be taken to what? To avoid, okay, not prevent avoid becoming a victim. And 9, the what of organized criminal gangs targeting the internet is not in doubt. The existence. 10, criminals have developed. Now we have another adverb, which is the remaining adverb. Highly sophisticated. Highly sophisticated. Most experts recommend regular security checks, and all universities should provide. Okay, so that's the answer. First, you have to understand the word class. What kind of word class goes in, based on the sentence structure. Analyzing the sentence structure, what kind of word class fits into that, and then based on this, you can just get the correct answer. Okay, now let's have a look at prevent, because students get. Now, the two things my students normally make mistakes with regards to this work. Number one is the 3 adverbs. They mix it around because they're not sure. That, as I mentioned, you need to understand collocations. The other thing is the prevent and avoid, right? Prevent and avoid is normally... Let's look at this. Prevent. Prevent unwanted mails. Why can't you put avoid? Let me just show you. Why can't you use avoid? Okay, let's look at how do you look at the pattern, how you use avoid. Avoid, after avoid comes the verb in ing. Okay, so can avoid, is there a verb in ing? No. It is the verb here, then the noun, the object, and then the verb in ing. So let's look at the pattern for prevent. Prevent something. You see that something is the object, the noun. Then you have this bracket means is optional. Then you have your verb in your ing form. So this is the correct pattern. You prevent plus object. You want to use a from, that's optional. Or you prevent object, which is a noun. Prevent noun plus verb ing. See? So you have to use this because this is a noun here. When you use avoid, the pattern is just avoid plus verb ing. This one is the verb plus the noun, then the verb ing. So if you look at the patterns, just by understanding the patterns, you will understand which word is goes in where. Okay? Okay, let's go to 3.1 and 3.2. We'll quickly go through this. This is probably already nearly an hour, so quickly go through this. Access, you already know that. STEM, basically what is STEM. Okay, you can go through the dictionary if you're not sure. Match, same thing. It's a noun or verb. Influence, lack, noun or verb, noun or verb. Spare, joint, risk, sample, rank. Spare will be a noun or verb. Adjective, joint will be noun and adjective. Risk, noun or verb. Sample, noun, verb, adjective. Rank, noun, verb, adjective. Okay, and so these are words which have either 2 or 3 word classes with exactly the same word. Okay, you don't have to change anything. Then let's go to 3.2. 2. Let me just show you one with. So with is a preposition. After with you have a noun. Capacity is a noun. Spare is the adjective describing capacity. Many factories is a subject. Verb, saw, past simple tense. You see something, right? So there has to be object and noun. Whereas the noun is production. So excess is describing production. It is here being used as an adjective. Okay. However is the adverb. Okay. Lack of investment. This is the subject. Okay. Has been is the verb be in the present perfect simple tense. So lack of investment. This is being used as a noun. 4. Performance, VIX performance, that is your subject, has not matched, that is your present perfect simple tense. The word here will be, match will be a verb here. 5, Pepsi Cola is the subject, the noun. Ranks is a verb. Okay. In the present simple tense, many companies, subject, have entered present perfect simple tense into joint venture agreements, right? Here is being used as an adjective. 7, drinks are regularly. This is a passive, passive voice. I talk about that in writing class too. But drinks are regularly sampled. This is the past participle, and the verb in the past participle. Be plus past participle is the passive. Okay, so that's a verb. 8, many of the drinks industries current problems stem. This whole thing is your subject, your noun phrase. Stem is your verb. Stem, that means it comes from. It's a verb. In the present simple tense, external factors is your subject. Have is your verb in tense. You always have a noun, right? Influence is the noun. Strong is the adjective. So influence is a noun. And the board, subject, took, past simple tense, verb. Risk, calculated is the adjective. Risk is the noun. Okay, and exactly the same thing for 3.3. So you have experience, rates, double, essential, support, ideal, border, prompt, blame. Okay, so experience, what is experience? Experience is a noun or verb. Rates is a noun or verb. A lot of them are nouns or verbs. Double is here a noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. Okay, interesting. Essential, noun and adjective. Support, noun, verb. Ideal, noun, adjective. Border, noun, verb. Prompt, noun, verb, adjective. And blame, noun, verb. Right? And this, let's go through 1. The Hilton's chief executive subject, told bankers, told verb, past simple, bankers, the object, that clause, okay, you learned this in chapter 5, that plus clause, so it's the subject again, the March 31st accounts, that's your subject, would show, verb, show an object, which is a noun, show actually comes with a that again, okay, another that clause, you don't use, sometimes you don't put the that. So net assets is a subject again, because that plus clause is subject plus verb. Okay, gets a bit complicated. We will explain this more in chapter 5 when we come to word patterns. So net assets is your noun, your subject, but this is an adjective here, right? In the past 5 years, you see this is your prepositional phrase. The company subject has experienced present perfect simple, so that would be a verb. The group 3, the group subject rates, verb here, okay, present simple tense. 4, the number of business clients, subject, has nearly doubled, present perfect simple tense, so it's a verb, doubled here is a verb. 5, easy access to the airport, that's your subject, is regarded as essential. Now, this is an adjective here, okay? We support, verb. We is your subject, support is your verb in present simple tense. The hotel subject is situated, here you can look at it as an adjective or passive, whatever it may be, but in is your preposition, and you have a noun, location is a noun, ideal is an adjective. 8, furthermore is adverb here, then you have your subject, it is subject, is verb, only a few more from preposition, the noun, border here is a noun. Staff subject, will always deal, will deals your modal verb plus your main verb, and always is adverb. So subject, verb, this ly is an adverb. This is the ly version. This is describing how you deal, how the staff deals. Okay, they deal promptly. And number 10, the fall in business last year was blamed. This is a verb in passive. Okay. Lastly, this which word classes. Okay, 1a, these are all adjective. B, these are all verbs. C, these are all nouns. D, the ly, adverb. Okay, and this 2, influence. Influence is a noun and a verb. B, match is a noun or verb. C, joint. I think we did this before. Noun or adjective. Anyway, all this is actually in this chapter. That's why it's familiar, these words, because they're just reviewing what you've learned here. Lack is a noun and a verb. Okay, so this video is, I think by now it's probably an hour 10 minutes or so. Very, very good information. I can tell you that I cover all this in my tuition, private tuition. I used to do a lot of private tuition with a lot of students, IELTS students, and I go through all this. They really find it beneficial. They understand sentence structure a bit more, which is very, very important. And it's all in video, which is actually very good because you can review it over and over again. You're not going to get everything at once. So please replay this video at least 2 times, and you will learn a lot. And I'm sure you will definitely learn a lot if you watch this 2 or 3 times. And whatever you don't understand, you can always ask me, or you can also find out by yourself online. But this is really good information, understanding the sentence structure, understanding the word classes. Okay?